G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Draw with Jazza. I'm Jazza, and today I'm going to be making cute characters epic with the help of my Twitch chat. So live on Twitch, my audience has given me a bunch of different suggestions of cute characters. They have been voting on them. I don't know who I'm going to draw, but I'm going to take the top 2 requests and portray them in an epic way. So without further ado, the winners are Stitch and Steven Universe. That's kind of cool. I feel like Steven Universe in his adventures maybe comes across Stitch. Both of them epic and hopefully making for an epic interaction. Let's get started. I start off with really simple construction lines and shapes to create some basic poses, starting off with Steven Universe and then moving on later to Stitch. Steven was pretty straightforward to go with. I went for sort of a strongman physical build since the cartoon version of Steven Universe, or the actual version of Steven Universe, is quite stocky and a little bit short and chubby. Stitch was extremely difficult. I didn't stick to the scale of Stitch being the smaller figure. Instead, because he's an alien creature that can definitely be over-exaggerated in different ways, I went with making him quite a lot larger and over-muscular. Stitch's pose was a bit difficult to do, in particular because he has 6 limbs and, again, takes up most of the page. I settled with having his rear upper arm sort of reaching out in one of his iconic poses where he's sort of reaching out awkwardly and saying hi for the first time to Lilo. But this time it's of course said by a gargantuan, horrifying alien Stitch. His head and face in particular were the most difficult things to get right because I needed to walk the line of making him a little bit more dramatic and over the top and a little scary, while still making him look like Stitch and make it look like it fits on the body type that I've drawn him. Once happy with the rough foundation of both characters, I move on to create some refined sketch work on the characters. First on Steven Universe, who, like I mentioned, has much more of a broad, strongman sort of build with really wide shoulders and really solid core. I've kept his attitude pretty whimsical still. Not too over-the-top whimsical like he is in the cartoon, but kept him fairly friendly and relaxed looking, a little more like his character. Stitch I could play around with a little bit more because he has sort of horrifying aspects of the earlier version of Stitch in the movie Lilo and Stitch. I could go a little more extreme in that direction and really push that curious but still scary and powerful alien character that he's portrayed as. The line work is where I really capture the detail and the drama in the figures that I've laid down in the foundation of the sketch. I go through the whole piece using a 0.1 fine liner. I think in particular when you're doing a little more epic tone pieces, you don't want to have your lines be too thick, especially in the middle of the pieces, and you also do want reasonable amounts of detail in the middle of broader areas, such as visceral looking muscles and veins, things that break up the flat surfaces of the images and character anatomy. At the same time, I make sure to keep the core lines, those around the facial features and the silhouettes of the characters, really nice and solid, and then those lines alluding to the details are used with a much lighter hand, even though they're both drawn with the same 0.1 fine liner. The colouring for Stitch was done in various stages. The first stage was a pretty flat, smoky blue, and when I say flat, I only laid down one layer and didn't worry about making an even tone, since that would sort of be a waste of ink, seeing as I knew how much ink would need to then follow in various other colours, which would help blend it and make the colour look a little more solid anyway. I left a few key areas on outer surfaces of Stitch's skin as highlights, which I'd come back to later, but then I incrementally moved through shades darker and darker for Stitch, and I really wanted to make sure that the depth and angle of his limbs were respected and that his form could still be clearly seen, even though there's a lot happening with 6 limbs and a hunched over reaching forward posture. So I use my mid-tone blue moderately in the upmost areas of Stitch and then quite heavily in the mid and lower areas of Stitch, and then when I move on to the shadow blues, I use that then moderately in the mid areas of Stitch and very heavily in the lower and rear areas of Stitch, and this really helps gradiate the lighting. One of the things I tend to find I'm vulnerable to doing is not shading the lower torso enough, especially when someone is bent over, so I was conscious of that to try and make sure that I got a dynamic 3-dimensional looking figure. The rest of the detail of the colour of Stitch's face were pretty straightforward, just the pink for the gums and the lips. Steven Universe's skin tone was done with my default Copic colours for skin tones, the E13 light suntan, E11 barley beige for the base, and then E57 light walnut for the deeper shadows. After that I move on to the other areas of Steven, from his hair to his shirt and then the rest of his body. Again, another one of those those things where I was conscious to try and build up areas of shadow a little more solid than I tend to naturally be inclined to do. After putting in the final touches of Steven Universe, from his flip-flops to his shield, I then move on to some finer details. In particular, I go through the silhouette outlines of both characters in a 0.5 slightly thicker fine liner. And the last thing I do to more effectively emphasize that three-dimensional aspect, especially again of Stitch, is I go in with a white pen and add some rim lighting between some of the limbs where it makes sense, where light would be shining through between them, which also helps separate the limbs visually from one another and create a little more depth. There you go, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our stream, and this is the result. I hope you enjoy it. This is Stitch and Steven Universe in epic presentation. I think I definitely achieved it with Stitch. Obviously not to scale, he's a much bigger alien version of Stitch. Steven Universe is hard to make super epic because he's quite whimsical in nature, but feel like I made him a bit of a tank, and he still looks like he could maybe take him in a fight. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to join future Twitch streams by clicking the link in the description, and of course, make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and like this video if you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and until next time, I'll see you later. Make sure to subscribe to my channel to see more of my videos, and while you're at it, check out my shop where I sell ebooks, brushes, photo references, video courses, and more. There's another video you might enjoy from my channel over there, and you can also check out my behind the scenes daily vlog channel, Daily JAZZA. That's it for now, and until next time, I'll see you later.